Dámy a pánové.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and I would like to follow up on my four speakers' presentations. At the moment, we are in a crucial moment on negotiations on the common agricultural policy, which is an important issue and that accompanies the European Union for more than 50 years. And at present, from the viewpoint of budgeting, is the greatest proportion from the EU budget. There are lots of rules and regulations, and right now, in the past year and a half, these regulations are part of intense debate. So I'm going to inform you about some of these rules and regulations in the European Parliament. This is the content of my presentation, and later I can answer questions, and I think the Minister Toman will arrive in no time. I would like to remind you goals of the EU in the area of agriculture. They are anchored in the very agreement about functioning of the EU. One of the most important documents, Article 39, paragraph 1, the aim of the CAP is, among others, to increase productivity, to support technical development, rational development of agriculture, optimum use of production factors, especially labor force. At the same time, we need to provide adequate living standard of agricultural population by increasing individual wages and salaries of people employed in agriculture. See, we need to stabilize markets. After all, we've lived through milk crisis, there is a drop of sugar prices, and sector of pork meat is in troubles, and factors causing it are different, and at the minimum they are at the European or a global level. We have to provide a smooth supply of foodstuffs. After World War II, when the CAP was established, there was famine at the European continent and there were food vouchers. This was something my grandma told me. I've never lived through times like that. And it's worth reminding us why agriculture is so important, because what's abundant and what's cheap, we tend to take it for granted. And last but not least, we need to provide to consumers supplies for reasonable prices. I think foodstuffs are at the lowest level in history. The very goals of CAP are described in 3 regulations. The point is the regulation of the European Parliament and the Council, and it stipulates all basic conditions and frameworks. It states common goals like support of diversified agriculture. Number 2, the environment protection should be more intense. And number 3, strengthening of social and economic structure in rural areas. All 3 topics were discussed by my 4 speakers, and I believe they are very topical. They are very specific goals, and you can see them in my presentation in Article 6 of the directive. And we need to support young people. We speak about sustainable development, about the climate and competitiveness. So what is it like? There are 3 degrees about strategic planning. which will replace the direct payments, monitoring and funding and managing CAP, and changing the very area of agriculture markets with agriculture produce. The policy should be more ambitious in using instruments, taking care about environment. It should be more flexible, giving member states more authorities, and we as member states are obliged to define each measure as to how it will work and what will the goals be like, and we'll have to monitor whether they were fulfilled.
Agriculture should be intelligent, should take advantage of modern technology, to reduce bureaucracies and to be efficient. It should permanently focus on the market, react to market signals, and adapt. Member states in their strategic plans should modify their national farming policies, respecting their specific national factors agreed on with the European Commission. We believe the budget should be kept at least at today's level. Here are some examples of impacts on the Czech agriculture, where we try to defend the interests of Czech agriculture. The effects should be the same for all member states. Or at least comparable. This example specifically relates to direct payments. We have where we have an average farm approximately 10 times as large as the average throughout the European Union. Now, if I should tell you about the progress of the negotiations, the ministers meet on a monthly basis, except for August, to discuss the matters of common agricultural policy. I happen to be the speaker for the Czech Republic on the committee. The financial framework, the present financial framework applies to the years 2020 to 2027, which is not quite in agreement with the overall long-term goals. We expect the agreement on the next framework by summertime next year. Finland has tabled some proposals which should be discussed by the ministers next week in Brussels. The Czech Republic has been promoting the establishment of a proposal for the transitory period. The shortest viable duration is 2 years. The European Commission has proposed a 1-year transitional period, but we disagree and propose a longer transitional period. The Czech Republic is chairing the Visegrad Group at present. The ministers met last week together with the ministers of Slovenia, Bulgaria, and Romania, and the Finnish minister representing the presidency of the European Council is also taking part. Here I present by way of illustration, the positions of member states, for example, concerning the ceilings. 10 member states advocate the ceilings. Some would like to have it voluntary. Some member states are undecided yet. When it relates to small farms, again, there is a diversity of opinions, so you can see how complicated these talks are. So some points are still left to be agreed on in the next few months. In April this year, the Environmental Committee and the Rural Development Committee adopted the proposals. The Commission has not given its consent yet, but the proposals are the basis for talks in the European Parliament concerning the proposals. The European elections have changed the composition of the European Parliament a lot. We are very glad we have a representative on the Agriculture Committee in the Parliament, something we couldn't really hope for. Nevertheless, many members of the committee are not farm experts. So we are regularly talking with MEPs, not just Czech MEPs, and with the rapporteurs. It seems that the European Parliament is going to return to these proposals, amend them, and voting should take place during next year. So-called trilogues with the European Commission are going on. What I should say is that sometimes I meet with failure on the part of the European Parliament to understand the proposals of individual MEPs or individual political groups. The focus should not be just on small farms, because medium and large-sized farms are also well represented throughout Europe. So it is only just that the European Commission also mentions them in its proposal. The subsidy or the impacts of subsidy costs on the European budget have to be taken into account. The envisaged development we are glad to have a new European Commission. As from the beginning of this month, the so-called Green Agreement is on the table with stress on environmental factors. This is going to touch upon the European agriculture quite a lot. The Commission is going to table its proposal today. The next outcome of the talks should give orientation to the further development of the negotiations. We would like to have a simple CAP, a non-discriminatory one with strong financial backing and flexible for all the member states. In conclusion, the strategy of the talks, here you can see some main points. We are very active among the European member countries. We are promoting our national interests. We cooperate with the various farming organizations in the country. The next meeting of ministers is going to take, of the Visegrad Group is going to take place next month in Brno. Where we consult further talks with the European Commission. So much for my presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention.